everybody. It's good to be here again. Continue to watch, like, share, comment. And if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. It helps this channel to grow. Today, I'll be talking about not being enough. I think we've all experienced circumstances where we put in our best, like, really try. You really try. You stay in the moment, you're very conscious, you're putting in your best despite your challenges and your setbacks and everything. And the feedback you get is that you didn't try enough, or you didn't even do anything, or it's not even acknowledged. I don't even know which one is worse. Being told you're not good enough, or the whole effort just being ignored, essentially. Well, sometimes parents do this to their children. I think it's some kind of reverse psychology, and if I'm using that term wrongly, forgive me. But I think, like with my generation, for instance, not being given positive feedback or constantly being given negative feedback was seen as a way of getting you to strive harder, to do more. Nobody was interested in your mental health. Nobody was interested in how that made you feel emotionally. So praise, in many instances, praise would be withheld, because the thinking was, if you were praised, you would think you were all that, and you'd stop putting in the effort. And for some people, it's true. For some people, it's true. If you praise them even a little bit, that's it. They just fall where they are. Let's say, for instance, your child is an average student, keeps coming in with 5th, 10th position out of a class of 20, and you're like, oh, okay, not bad. This is a good result, Good boy, because you don't want to beat his spirit down and make him feel bad or feel less than. You want to acknowledge that at least the effort was put in. And then he came 10th this term. And the next term, he comes 13th. And the term after that, he's struggling with the person that came last. Because he has gotten comfortable with the notion that, it's all good. So there are people like that. There are people for whom praise can be counterproductive. Or even acknowledging whatever good they do can be counterproductive. They don't feel the need to try anymore. So let's say, for instance, you urgently need 200,000 from somebody you know can afford to give you that. Like, this person is not poor. And the person calls you and gives you 50,000. But because you are this person who feels like, well, he or she doesn't owe me 200,000, they could have chosen to not even give me the 50,000. So you fall all over yourself, thanking them and praising them and being very, very grateful that they even parted with that 50,000 at all. And the person feels like, those things happen. There are people like that for real. There are people for whom you praise them and that's it. They don't strive anymore. They feel they've attained. But I think for majority of the people, if you acknowledge effort at all, it uplifts the spirit and causes that person to want to do more. In fact, there's even a Christian concept that God himself thrives on praise. So when you're going through your most difficult times, that is when you're called upon to praise God. Offer up thanksgiving. Be joyful. Do not allow your spirit to be shaken. Keep your eyes on God. Keep praising Him regardless of the challenge, regardless of whatever you're going through. Remain stoic. Keep praising God. So even God Himself is said to thrive off of our praise, worship, and thanksgiving and things like that. And since we are created in His image and likeness, I think the average person does better when they receive positive feedback, especially for genuine effort, than when feedback is constantly negative. If you have somebody, for instance, in the house who, let's say your maid, who cooks, cleans, and as human beings, we all have our strengths and weaknesses. This is not to say you won't point out where she needs to improve, but when last did you tell her, Mary, you're doing a good job. You're fantastic at cleaning. You're fantastic at... Since you came into this house, I've never seen one speck of dust anywhere. My glasses, my drinking glasses are never with any fingerprint on them. I do not find roaches anywhere in the kitchen. You've been fantastic at keeping the kitchen spotless. You know, I really appreciate you for that. When last did you say that? Or are you so focused on the fact that the last time you sent her to the market, she forgot to buy one item? And that becomes how you identify her. Because this happened once, but that becomes the main thing that you identify her with. So I'm just giving various instances. Or your driver, he's ordinarily diligent. He comes to work every day, leaves when you ask him to leave. You know, he doesn't close at the appointed time. He waits for you to tell him it's okay to close before he does so. But then because, you know, somebody bumped into the car from behind when, I mean, it really wasn't his fault, that one situation now becomes the main thing about this driver. He's always careless. He's never bothered about this, that, or the other. Or your parents. Because they're not able to afford you certain luxuries. You want an iPhone. I mean, you're in secondary school, but you want an iPhone. You know, you've forgotten the fact that your father himself is still carrying a Techno. You know, you want an iPhone. So because you want an iPhone, the fact that your father pays your fees, makes sure you don't go to bed on an empty stomach, pays the bills, makes sure that, you know, NEPA is taken care of, there's food in the house, there's DSTV, at least there's a car that takes you back and forth to school, even if it is not that posh. If there's no car, he gives you transportation. You have decent clothes on your back. You have shelter over your head and things like that. All of those things don't matter anymore because your father cannot afford you an iPhone and all your friends have iPhones. Am I speaking to somebody here? Is there somebody for whom this is resonating? So you see, for me, my policy in life, and I try to direct this at everybody, even the youngsters in my home, I will certainly correct you, but I make time to praise them. I make time to make them realize that this is your strength, this is what you are good at. I appreciate you for this. Maybe you need to work a little bit more on this, because the larger society out there is not that forgiving. They will not accommodate this particular feeling you have. But these are your strengths. I appreciate you for this. You're wonderful at this. And it's good to have you. I do that. And it's also a personal philosophy of mine that whoever I'm around, whoever is, if you make an effort, even if your effort is this small, I appreciate it, because that is my philosophy in life. It's not because if I really wanted to, I couldn't find flaws in you. It's because I'm aware of the fact that we are all flawed, including myself. And if I expect you to tick every last box and constantly remind you that you're not doing that, you would have to have a mind of steel to not eventually feel like you're not wanted, you're not needed, and then to begin to feel like you have no relevance at all. Let me tell you guys the biggest compliment somebody paid me, and this was a couple of months ago. I'll never forget. She probably doesn't even know it. It was a woman. We met when I went to NTA for a program. It was our first time meeting, and she was a very pleasant person. We hit it off immediately. And she said, "You're the most content person I've ever met." And that made me feel so good. It made me feel happy, because it's something I constantly strive for. That doesn't mean I'm ambitionless. No. Every day I keep working on myself in different ways, especially in my private life, in my personal life, in my interactions with other people, and so on and so forth. I want to make more money. I want to grow more. I want to attain more in my personal life journey and things like that. But I'm also super mindful of those wonderful things God has blessed me with. In fact, in the morning when I pray, I thank God for things as basic as the air I breathe. The capacity to wake up and climb out of bed at all. The capacity to take myself to the bathroom. The food I eat, the water I drink. The people God has surrounded me with. I thank God for every last follicle of hair on my head and my toenails. I thank God for my features and the dark spots on my face from the pimples. I thank God for my difficult moments. I thank God for my happy moments. I thank God for provision. I thank God for bringing me to where I am today in life. And if it never gets any better than this, I'm living my best life. I wake up every day with the conviction that I'm currently living my best life. And that's not because I'm living a problem-free life. That's not because everything is lovey-dovey, everything is rosy, everything is fantastic and perfect for me. But because I choose to believe that everything is fantastic and perfect for me right now. Because I choose to have the mindset that if I go to bed this night and I don't wake up, today was the best day I ever had. So I wake up every day with the philosophy that today is the best day. And no matter what small annoyances I experience, today is a beautiful day. It's a wonderful day. And everybody who has made any effort today, thank you for making the effort. Because you could have chosen not to, and nothing would happen. You have your own problems too. So, my challenge to you today is this. Look for that person within your immediate environment that you take for granted for the most. It could be your spouse, it could be your child, it could be somebody who helps out around the house, it could be the driver, it could be the security man at the gate, it could be anybody. and just randomly praise that person. What about your priest or your pastor? Pick up the phone today. If you have the person's number, pick up the phone today. Just send them a text. Instead of sending a text telling them about your problems and the fact that you need prayer, just send them a text asking them how they're faring. Pray for them and tell them that you prayed for them today and that everything will be perfectly okay, because God has blessed them with the grace to carry any temptation and any problem that will come their way today. What about your doctor? When last did you get across to your doctor, not because you were sick, but because you wanted to find out if your doctor is fine, if he's okay, and if life is treating him well, him or her well? What of the teachers in your children's school? I challenge you today to just go to school. I'm not talking about a bribe. Please don't go and give them money. That's not what I'm saying. I challenge you today to go to school one of these days, not on open day, not because anything is going on. Just go to school randomly today. Or any day you can spare the time. Look for your child's class teacher, maybe when you go to pick them up from school. Spend 5 minutes with your child's class teacher. Praise that person. Tell him he's doing a good job. Tell him or her that you appreciate the fact that they're keeping an eye on your kids for such long periods of the day when you can't. And you appreciate the good effort they're putting in. And you want to thank them for being such wonderful people to your kids. Try that and see. What about kids? Instead of taking for granted that, oh, it was your parents that brought you into this world, so they have no choice than to pay your school fees and to feed you. Why don't you surprise your parents today by just telling them, Daddy or Mommy, I noticed lately that you seem a bit tired of late. Your spirit seems a bit low. I don't know what you're going through, but I just want to tell you that I really appreciate everything you do to give me the life I have now. Thank you for everything. Yes, it's your parents' duty to do those things. But if you show them that you acknowledge the fact that those things are done at all, you'll be surprised. Every now and then when your parents are sitting by themselves, make time to go and sit with them. Take your eyes out of the phone. Go spend 15-20 minutes with them, Ask them how their day was. Ask them if they're comfortably seated. Would they want a cold drink? Is there something you can get for them? Just be nice. Just try. And if you are the spouse who is ordinarily on the receiving end of caregiving from the other spouse, I'm saying this because sometimes it's the man, sometimes it's the woman. Once in a while, surprise your spouse. I'm not talking about a money spending venture where you take them out to exotic restaurant. No, just sit with your spouse and be nice. Say something nice about their appearance. Say something nice about who they are as a person. Acknowledge their existence in your life. Just say something nice. I'm sure there's any number of things that you can think of that your spouse is not doing right, because as a human being, that person is flawed. But think of that one thing out of the 90% of things that they're not doing right. Think of that 10% that they're doing right and say something nice about it. Keep saying something nice about that thing. Even if it's just the fact that that person is a good listener. Or the fact that you have the kind of spouse who will never spend a night outside the household if he or she is not out of town. Or if you have a spouse who sacrifices all of their leisure time to be in the house to make sure that everything is running smoothly, nobody is doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing, and things like that. Guy, even if it's just that your spouse has very nice hair or nice fingernails, just say something nice. Make a habit of saying something nice every day. To your spouse, to people around the house. It doesn't have to be everybody. They'll take it for granted. But every now and then, surprise one person, say something nice to that person. Surprise this other person, say something nice to them. Randomly, when they least expect it. And you'll be surprised. It's a challenge. Take it up and see if it makes a difference.